I wanted to combine these 3 images to make a medieval outfit. So I made my pattern and I started sewing. Here I am working on a hammer, my first prototype, where I used like some sort of quilting material. And this is what it ended up look like. It was very puffy. It was probably good for night. So I made a new pattern, because that one also had a crease, and made another prototype. Now with this one, I managed to get rid of the problem where it was having a big puff on the sleeve where it wasn't supposed to. As you can see, I solved that problem. And then I also solved the big puffiness where it looked like a winter coat that the last one kind of had when you put anything over it. So made this tighter fitting, which is more accurate historically. This is what it ended up looking like. Now I'm doing the pants. I'm also testing what all the stitches on my machine look like, so then that way I know what I want it to actually look like on the actual fabric. Because I haven't used a lot of the stitches on my machine, I wanted to play around and figure it out. So this way, it kind of has a more to use. Instead of just being a mock-up, it's also a stitch swap. Here's what it looks like. And here I am ironing my actual fabric. And here's it all laid out to be cut. Now I am sewing the pieces. I wanted it to be a lining layer because that's the only way I could think of it not creasing with the amount of top stitching on it. Anyways, while we're on the topic of vaguely historical clothing, the movie Anastasia by Fox, now owned by Disney, is surprisingly accurate in its depiction of Russian pre-World War II clothing. Both that and the musical have that in common. It's one of the many reasons why I love that musical so much. The director for the movie even hired a bunch of Broadway actors in a time when they couldn't get work. Enough about Anastasia. Now I am sewing these lines of hand stitching that would have been... Historically, these lines of stitches would have cotton in them, so then that way it would provide some cushion against the armor. However, I tried that and it just made it a bit too thick, too puffy. It looks more like someone was wearing a winter coat than an everyday t-shirt. So I decided to go without and just have those 2 layers. I'm gonna continue that train of thought in a second because I realized that what's coming up is actually like a lot funnier. I realized that if I could make the curve of the machine smaller, I could probably go a lot faster. So I just removed the bottom part because on machines that have a top bar, and you can do this. It made it a lot easier and I could go a lot faster because there was an inch less curve. I put the silk coat, which is what the outer layer, the purple layer, is called. It just looked really similar to someone wearing a Halloween costume underneath, on top of a puffy coat. Before the lines of stitching had to be done though, I had to poke our eyelet in 3 places so then that way I could get this medieval style of lacing. And now we're almost done with the shirt. Here's what it looked like. Here's what the back looked like. I ironed out those white lines. Now I am working on the pants, doing the same thing over and over again. Like the shirt, historically these would have been done by hand and would have had stuffing in it before they were stitched, so then that way they added cushion. But it still looked a bit too puffy coat even with the pants, so no stuffing. Which is kind of a disappointment considering I got quilt backing to make these, but didn't end up using it. There's not a lot of research on these types of pants, so I'm curious if these would have been supplied by the castle as part of your night training, or if these were something that everyone was expected to have on hand, as it was a normal t-shirt and a normal pair of pants. But I'll never know. What I'm making this outfit based on is history book, and then the other half is a Minecraft skin for a series I like called Mystic SMP. Now we're working on the sugarcoat because I ran out of thread, and I decided to work on this partly while I was waiting for my gray thread to arrive, and I needed trim for this project. So this is how much thread I had from doing the pants, and I had 2 spools of thread. These are the shoulder armors I was working on. Here's them on the doll I was going to use it. And a week later, I got my package from Joanns. It had my trim, it had my thread, and I started sewing again. In an effort to make it easier, I pinned the pants at the width they would be, so then that way I didn't stitch too close or use thread on an area that wasn't going to be seen. And here's the finished project. Overall, I really liked making this project. There's little delays in shipping. These cowboy boots were like the closest thing I had to boots. But they work, so I'm not complaining. If you like this, you can check out some of my other videos. Also do sewing stuff and leave a like and a comment.